Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, company won't pay for lunch. Home it is then. Fax out documents till 5:30. Okay. Prove it. Love to. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Company won't pay for lunch. Home it is then. A few years back I worked at a small IT security reseller/consulting place that tried like hell to nickel and dime everyone. I had a customer that was a bit over 1.5 hours away, and the rule was you had to be working more than 2 hours away from your home city to have meals covered. I initiated some malicious compliance and drove back home for lunch the 3 days I had to be on site at that customer. When I turned in my expense report for mileage, I got called into the office where I explained that the reason there were 2 round trips was that I was just following policy not to eat out and charged that back since I was not 2 hours out. That policy got changed real fast as the mileage was around $250 at that time and the customer wasn't happy. You can also guess why I said it was a short stint there. That place tried to nickel and dime employees and customers alike. I don't know how they stayed in business. Fax out documents till 5:30. Okay. So, this job was from several years ago. I was reminded of it by reading other stories. I was the last person to leave. I worked until 5:30 p.m. When we faxed out documents, they were time-stamped. Well, the last documents I faxed were usually time-stamped 5:20 p.m. Because, for one, when we faxed documents we usually did several at once, probably 5 or so. After faxing you have to go back to your computer, log them out in 2 different programs, initial them with the times and then file them. This takes time, especially when you have, say, 5 documents. Me being the last person in the department, I then have to not only log off my 5 programs I use, shut down my computer, turn off my lamp, check the lamps of the 7 cubicles around me, lock the files, make sure the fax machine has paper for incoming faxes, make sure all the inboxes have a blank paper on top so when security walks by they don't see the confidential information underneath. Not like they can't flip over a piece of paper if they really wanted to, right? I gather my things, mark my time sheet, yeah we had time sheets, and head out. Now, if anyone leaves the building after 5:15 you have to sign out at the security desk, so I usually signed out about 5:35-ish. My schedule is until 5:30, I work until 5:30. Well, review time comes and my manager tells me I need to be faxing documents all the way up until 5:30. We are there until 5:30. I explain to him what I actually do when I close up the department. He says, whatever, I want to see time stamps up to 5:30 p.m. Okay. I start doing that. I'm in no rush, I don't slow down mind you, but I don't rush myself out. Now I'm signing my time sheet at 5:40 and signing out at security at 5:45. Roll around to the week after next. On Monday, manager approaches me after going over the time sheets. Of course he asks, why am I signing out so late? My schedule is 5:30. And security has me signing out at 5:45. I tell him he told me I had to fax out up until 5:30. I can't do that and close up by 5:30. He says fine, fax until 5:25, Margot can file them in the morning, make a folder and let her know. Now filing takes only about 2 minutes. Okay, now I'm signing out 5:32 and security 5:36, times are important per sensitive material, he's good with this. However, Margot now has an additional task when she comes in, because, per long-standing protocol, if you finish someone else's job, yes that includes filing, you must verify their final step. So, she has to go into both programs of those files and double-check I logged them out in those programs. Adding another maybe 10 minutes to her load of work before she can start her daily jobs. Second day of this, and manager is asking her why he hasn't gotten any files from her by a certain time like he usually does. She tells him exactly why. Of course, Margot and I have talked about this way before and knew all of this was going to happen and knew the final outcome long before he did. Finally, with great exasperation, he looks at me and says, "Final fax time 5:20. I don't want to hear another word about this," and walks out. She and I just look at each other and don't need to say a word. Prove it. Love to. A while back my agency was about to deploy a new financial management system, which had been developed in-house to dovetail with some of our pre-existing systems. I was part of a combo tech/management group tasked with reviewing the new software. After a short hands-on demo, we were on the receiving end of a presentation by the developer, let's call him Tim, with whom I had a bit of not great history, and the more we got into the technical nuts and bolts of the FMS, the more apparent it was Tim was leaning heavily on security through obscurity, oddball data structures, deeply recursive API calls, etc. Mid-presentation, Tim and I got into it a little bit, Tim saying his structures were so arcane nobody would be able to trace the course of his calls, me calling BS saying for a sufficiently skilled programmer the question wouldn't be if, but when, Tim calling that BS, etc., etc., you get the idea. After a few exchanges, an irritated Tim said, "You think it would be so easy to crack? Prove it." At that point I backed off to let Tim finish his presentation, but while Tim did that, I cracked open my notebook and went back into the demo system. About 20 to 30 minutes later, when Tim was in the final Q&A phase of his presentation, I raised my concerns. Tim reasserted his confidence in his system's security. At which point I asked, "So you're saying you would have no qualms trusting this system to protect your personal data?" And slid a piece of paper across the conference table to Tim. Tim looked at the paper, then back at me, then back to the paper again as his face turned beet red. This of course did not go unnoticed by the other attendees, who looked curiously, and those who actually knew me, smirkingly, at me, and not wanting to disappoint, I asked Tim if he wanted to share the contents of the note with everyone. A negative headshake was his only response. One of the other attendees who knew me said, "Okay, what's the #%*ing deal?" We were a pretty informal bunch, but all I said was, "It's Tim's call, either he can read out loud what's on that piece of paper, or he can explain what it is and why he doesn't want to." Painted into a corner, Tim had no choice, he mumbled, "It's me." You see, while Tim was continuing his presentation, I had gone back into the demo, cracked my way down to programmer mode, and sussed through the data structures enough to get to the FMS's personnel file. I'd figured Tim was the sort to use himself as a test entry in the file, and I was right. His security through obscurity held out for less than a half hour. And on that piece of paper, nothing much, just Tim's SSN. Afterwards, the group decided some redesign was necessary before the system went into testing for production deployment. Unanimously. Including Tim. He moved on shortly after, by the way. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.